answering questions about soft air dry clay. Does it dry? It dries in 2 to 3 days into a hard styrofoam texture. Is it waterproof? No, but you can apply varnish to make it waterproof. Does it break if you drop it? No, it doesn't. It's pretty strong. Not even a crack.
These are paper stars covered in various clays, and today we are finally going to squish them. So first up on top we have a glow-in-the-dark polymer star, then a opalescent polymer star, a Crayola air dry, and lastly ceramic. So it is a low-fire ceramic star with a clear glaze. That was the glow-in-the-dark. Here's the opalescent, Crayola, and last but not least, again, the ceramic star. So I'm going to try as hard as I can on all of these to squish them. First up we have the ceramic star, and it's hard to tell, but I am squishing it as hard as I could. I was really scared it was going to break and stab my fingers, but I still pushed as hard as I could for y'all. Don't believe me? Well, check out my thumb. I was squishing so hard I had a dent in my thumb for a good 15-20 seconds after squishing it. But next up is the Crayola air dry clay. Place your bets on how this is going to go. Oh, yeah, not very well. So there's that original paper star inside. Next up was one of the opalescent little stars, and I tried squishing this for a solid, I think it was 45 seconds. The only thing I could get it to do was compress a little bit because again they are hollow, but it never broke. This is glow in the dark, and surprisingly it broke. So that was cooked as long as the opalescent clay was, same batch, but for whatever reason that one was a little more fragile, so there you go.
My name's Riley, I'm an artist, and I just messed up an entire batch of my clay artwork, so I want to tell you about it so that the same thing doesn't happen to you. I've been experimenting with a ton of different ways to seal my air dry clay, and recently I've been exploring UV resin. It has worked great on my smaller pieces and my polymer clay. Last night I decided to be brave and try sealing my larger trinket dishes. Everything looked great when I went to bed, and I was really happy with the result. I woke up this morning and there is a ton of trapped air bubbles just showing up randomly. I have never had this happen before. I did a little bit of research, and from what I gathered, it's one of two things. The first thing that it could be is that my UV light was not strong enough and it did not cure the resin all the way through. The other thing that it could be, I did not put a sealer between the paint and the clay and the resin. From what I've read, with air dry clay specifically, not with polymer clay, this can cause air that's trapped in the clay to try to escape after the resin has cured, which leaves these weird looking air bubbles. I haven't seen anyone talk about this before, so I just wanted to put it out there and ask, has this ever happened to you? Is there a way to fix this? Is there something else that might have caused this that I'm not thinking of? Should I still list these in my shop update? I'm just not to the quality that I would usually sell, so I could list them as B-grade items at a discount. I'm really frustrated because I've been putting so much work and love into these pieces, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on them for a couple days. Just help, dude.
How to sculpt a DIY lighter case out of polymer clay. This is a really fun and beginner-friendly tutorial, so let's get into the steps. Anytime I use polymer clay, which is pretty infrequently, it's not my favorite, but I always start by wiping down my hands and surface with isopropyl alcohol. This is our first line of defense against dust control. You're gonna need foil, clay, and a lighter. The next thing that I do is take a scrap piece of clay and repeat the process of wiping it all over my hands and workstation to further grab dust. You're gonna take a medium-sized piece of polymer clay and begin the conditioning process. If you have one of those fancy pasta roller clay conditioner situations, that's great and probably much easier. I do not have one of those, so I like to just kind of bash it in with the end of my
you close, did it with me. I'm grateful for you're pretty. I don't want you give it.
In a daisy, I be dirty dancing, all the yelling gravy Swayze.
Damn, gravy, you so vicious, you so clean, so delicious. How come you ain't
How to paint air dry clay. This is one of the most common questions that I get, so I wanted to make a more in-depth tutorial. The first thing that you need is air dry clay that is completely bone dry. Do not try and paint wet clay. When you look at your dry clay, you may notice a lot of dust. This is just kind of unavoidable. I wipe everything down with rubbing alcohol and still somehow by the time it's dry, it's covered in dust. This can be easily removed with a fine grit sandpaper. You can buy this stuff for really cheap, and I just cut it up into small little squares and very lightly go around and buff the surface of my piece. It looks much better. I never see other clay artists talk about this, but I really like to go in with gesso primer. It's just a porous multi-purpose primer that helps paint adhere to the surface of whatever you're applying with. It's really common in oil and acrylic painting on canvases, but I really like to use it on clay. It's made a big difference in the ease of application for me and has reduced the amount of really annoying paint peeling that I have encountered. I like to do 3 to 5 very thin layers and dry with a hair dryer in between. So let's actually talk about paint. This is my paint bucket that I have been building on for many years, so there's a bunch of different random stuff in it, but this is my go-to trio. I like to hand mix all of my colors as much as possible, so I just have the 3 primaries. Here's an example of what they look like on a finished piece. I just have this giant tub of acrylic white from Michaels. It's great, it's very thick. I think it was like 10 or 12 bucks, and it is safe for clay and for resin, which is great. I have also used a ton of this like 99-cent brand that you can get at Walmart, also I think at Michaels. I find that you have to apply a lot more layers with it, but it works great for the price. You can absolutely use gouache on your clay as well. I like to use this acrylic gouache. I have not tried water-based on clay, but you could definitely give it a shot. It works really great, especially for creating kind of translucent details. And here's my little collection of shimmery fun stuff, which is
Today I'm going to make Pink Melody. I used this clay set, 50 colors air dry clay set. Air dry modeling clay is made from high quality natural clay, non-toxic and 100% safe for children. First, we roll a round ball and press it out into the face. Facial contouring. Now do the ears. Rub it into water droplets and apply it to the front of the face. Finally, rub out the eyes and nose. Just add blush.
early to bed, early to rise, picking my nose, wasting my time. These are
If you could return, don't let it burn, don't let it fade. I'm sure I'm not being rude, but it's just your attitude, and it's tearing me apart, and it's ruining every day. Oh, I swore I would be true, and honey, so do you. So why were you holding her hand? Is it just the way we stand? Were you lying all the time? Was it just a game to you? But I'm in so deep. You know I'm such a fool for you have to let it linger.